And we're back. Progress has been made on the wall, getting this concrete wall repaired and all smoothed out. And today, the Jumanji house doesn't disappoint, because I started taking this cover off in the floor in preparation for sanding the floors. And I pulled this thing up, and of course, lo and behold, the outlet is broken and gone. But we have a little visitor here who apparently crawled through there and got himself fried and petrified in the process here at Jumanji House. That is a fried little lizard. These little things are in Indiana and they're blue. So and this floor we're getting ready to refinish is white oak. We're going to sand it down and put a new surface, new finish on it. Here's a couple of interesting things in this as we refinish it. I spoke with one of the owners in the 60s, and I believe they built this, taken one of these doors from another place in the home and built this closet, which we're going to remove. You can see the original doorway, it was here. So we're going to use that original doorway and close that in and make a bookcase out of it, since there's now a stairway on the other side. One of the owners who grew up here as a kid, when they bought the house, this was the passage to the basement when they moved in. It's an old doorway. It used to go through the home. I believe this home at one time came in the front door and had a center hallway, went all the way through the house and out through the back, which over the years, you know, this has changed. This arch has been added, which we're keeping. And of course, this was closed off, and the upstairs stairway is here now. The basement is here. But it's still kind of fun to see the old wallpaper where the door once existed. So continuing to repair the wall, the window, the floor, and this is worth noting. The configuration of the floor looks like it had a wall here at one time. Where I'm standing now, this thinner wood that's been put in here, 50 to 100 years ago, we believe was a staircase to the basement and a staircase to the upstairs, as there's matching scars and patches. And then this area in the middle of the arch is where one of the Rumford fireplaces once existed and came up through there and faced that direction. The hearth is still under the wood, and this is where the fireplace was. So a lot of changes. It was the sister fireplace to the one in this room. One faced to the south, one faced to the north. And you can see from here the scar where the stairs went down and the stairs went up, and then the fireplace. Just another way we know that that arch is not original. The architecture and style don't match the house, of course. The original style. And, somewhere along the line, someone was updating the house. We understand that. Everyone should do that. It makes you curious, though, of what it would have once looked like. Anyway, happy Lizard Day. We have a cooked lizard. We'll clean him up, and we're going to start working on this floor and resume the wall work and remodeling this room. A little more about this white oak floor. You can see one of the nail heads here is somewhat square. Most of them are elongated, and a close examination of this floor reveals that each one of these boards is a slightly different width, and they range from about 4 inches up to over 5 inches in width. You can see here it's the width of my shoe, and then you see some here that are maybe an inch more narrow than my shoe. These are handmade tongue and groove wood. We thought it would be a simple task to pull some of these up and replace them until we realized each one of these is a little bit different width because they were all made by hand in a time before the mass-produced lumber and before the tongue and groove machine invention in the late 1800s that allowed them to mass-produce tongue and groove. Prior to that time, they still had tools to make tongue and groove wood, but it was much more crude because you had to make each individual piece, bring them in, and then plane them to fit. So we will not be replacing this wood, but rather trying to preserve it to the best of our ability. This area, I do believe, what again was the wall. You can see where the wall, where the railing was here, that went upstairs, and it turns into what looks to me to be poplar as it goes into this other room. This is the wood from the window trim in the room we're working in. You can see it was once a really dark finish. What I think is fun to note is how this was originally put together. It makes it a little more difficult to tell exactly what type of wood this is, but you can see the crudeness and how they carved that out so that when these go together, they exactly match the wood. It has an angle on it, and it's mortised in there just a little bit. And don't know the proper name, but the boards that go across the top of the doors and windows are a little bit thicker than the vertical ones, so that they're all custom fitted to their the original trim on the house was attached to these concrete walls. It's hard to see now because I've been repairing the wall, but pieces of wood were embedded into the concrete wall and then used to attach this trim. Windows, doors, and trim all had wood embedded into the original concrete so that they could be attached. And this has a nice smooth finish on it now. Here's a piece of that embedded wood for the window trim. Pretty cool stuff. The house itself, the outer walls are 13 inches thick of concrete.